So you, Maggie, are local to the area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did I lose? Oh, okay. Okay.
I live about 20 minutes away.
Wow. What is the local thought process going on here?
Everyone locally. So we live in a very small community. We live in Pictou County. Nova Scotia is separated by counties.
Okay.
Daniel's from Pictou County, but Malaya is from Colchester County. That's the next county over.
Is that like a far distance? Like how far apart are counties for you all?
Half an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So she went back to that county allegedly because of the arguments with his parents and him. I just turned her volume up, Lunar. Interesting. Has there been any talk about the children with school? Do you know if it's true that they've missed the past few days before they disappeared?
They missed Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday was a PD day for us.
Okay. So they had off Wednesday, but they missed Tuesday, Thursday, and they were reported missing Friday. Yeah, our neighbors, we go by neighborhoods, and we're like borderline within seconds. The teachers last saw Lily on Monday.
We know some of their teachers. They go to the same elementary school my husband went to.
So did I guess then Jack went to school as well?
Jack would be in something called 4+. So at age 4, you start almost what, pre-primary?
Okay. Okay. And he was attending it.
He was.
Oh, we got another local. Would you like your camera on, Justin? Thumbs up. Yep. Okay. So many people don't like it. Welcome, Justin.
Hi.
So you are also a local to the area.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Let me just mute the other stream so I can hear you guys over here nice and clear.
Okay, no problem.
Yep, I'm good. I can hear you now.
So how close are you?
15 minutes? 10?
Wow.
15?
Mm. Have you seen search efforts and everything then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see going over the house all the time. Like, there's, like, just before I came in, I had to let my dogs out, and there's helicopters going over right now.
Oh. My heart, I couldn't imagine. Yeah. And now you said the locals are, like, kind of speculating that the parents, unfortunately, are kind of known for perhaps some type of substance abuse. And
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. My, making burning streets. Okay, yeah. My wife works in healthcare, and I've got friends who work in, I work in IT, she works in healthcare, and I have friends who work in education. So we unfortunately get to see the good and the bad of the community. And I'm not natively from here, so I moved here 7 years ago. So I kind of get a feeling for what the community's like looking in from the outside. And definitely a different perspective, that's for sure, than some of the locals who grew up around here.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because again, we only have rumor to go on at the moment, and what anyone is saying is not good.
We definitely have a serious drug problem in this community.
Oh, massively, massively. Like, there's so many child predators that have been let out recently over the last, say, 5 to 10 years. We keep getting announcements, oh, this person's been released into the community. This person's been released into the community.
And I live 5 minutes down the road from the new prison. When they get let out, they're given whatever's in their commissary and wish the best of luck. And another 5 minutes down the road is a huge homeless shelter.
Yeah, yeah, I'm up off Mountain Road, Maggie.
All right, I'm on Vale.
You on Vale?
Yeah, we're like 5 minutes from each other, yeah.
Yeah, we're practically neighbors.
And Miss Nova here is also a local. Very pretty, Miss Nova. Welcome. Excuse me.
So locals are getting on.
I know. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'm honored to have you all because it's pretty, you don't understand being from, obviously I'm not from the area. Are the woods in that area something that you believe that children of this age could actually wander into? No?
No.
I don't think they survive very long at all. Those are dense, heavy wooded areas.
I grew up in a rural community very similar to like where they would have been. I'm originally from Newfoundland, so just one province over, and it's bad. Like the trees are thick. We had hurricane fall too, so not that long ago. So trees have fell. You can't get through that area easily. It's very
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, even ATV trails and stuff are still blocked off.
So then how would children get through?
Can you guys hear me or see me?
Yeah,
We can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
we can hear you though.
You're beautiful.
Oh, but that's you, Nova. I apologize. I thought that was Maggie speaking. We can. Yes, you look very lovely.
Oh, well, that's besides the point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, as Justin. Hi, Justin. Yes, so I just live probably about 5 minutes away.
Wow.
I'm off the highway. I'm actually right near where he was saying that he was interviewed by the RCMP for 4 hours. There's a lot of updates I don't know if you guys ended up talking about because I was only partway through when I decided to ask you if I could jump on because I went back to the beginning. But
no, but was he interviewed in Pictou or Stellarton?
In Stellarton for 4 hours. That's what he said in his interview, and that they asked him to draw maps of where the children could have gone in the area, like what areas were they familiar with. So those areas that they had the little cabins and stuff there, which is a great life for kids to live, I have to say. That's what kids should be out doing. But and maybe there was other areas because there is a big lake out there, and they are on Garlock Road, and the lake is out there close by that. So maybe he's had them to the lake too fishing. So maybe he would have drawn that on the map or whatever. He also said in his interview, this is all on the news. So anything I'm saying is exactly what I took from the news,
Right.
because I'm very evidence based. So I know there's a lot said on Facebook and stuff, and I understand that people, there's a part of this that we know those things happen. So obviously there's a part of that where your head's going to go to that possible thought, but
The worst
it's
possible
not.
thought.
There's no evidence base there yet, and hopefully not. It won't be. But so he offered to complete a lie detector test, and also said that he would do drug tests as well to show that he's.
Wow.
I mean, to be honest with you, marijuana is legal now in Canada.
Yes.
So it's not uncommon for people now, and especially around here, because Pictou County is a big area for marijuana and other drugs, but especially marijuana. And so, I mean, if they were smoking some marijuana, well, so be it. But I'm sure he was probably willing to do that to show that there's no heavy drug use or,
Right.
But
Now, is it a hunting area?
is it a what?
A hunting
Hunting.
area?
Oh,
No.
yes.
Oh,
Are you saying hunting? Like people
Hunting,
hunt?
yeah. You're saying
Yeah.
hunting, yeah.
Well, back in the day, hunting was a big thing around here, but now they've changed some laws with that, and I think to own a gun you have to take some training or something. Like something changed. My husband talks about it because he used to be a big hunter, and he doesn't hunt now because of these changes. And so
There's
yeah,
still about 5 or 6 tree stands within walking distance of their property.
yeah,
though.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not
tree stands everywhere. They may
yeah,
have changed the laws, but it didn't deter the way people hunt.
yeah, people still hunt. It's not like it was back in the day, but people still hunt.
so what kind of wild animals would be in that area?
Bears and
Deer.
cougars, big time.
Coyotes,
Coyotes.
tons of
Or,
coyotes.
sorry, I meant to say coyotes. I said cougars.
Yeah, no,
Coyotes. Big coyotes, big time. And since we had those storms, the coyotes had been coming out closer to home because they're having a hard time traveling through the woods, and they were kind of pushed out of the
Wow.
woods. And so in that area, in the Westville area, which would be the surrounding area of that, the coyotes have been not cougars. We don't have cougars. I meant to say coyotes. Although there's been sightings of cougars, the rare
so
one.
they say, yeah.
Yeah. But the coyotes bad, and bears big time out there.
Mm.
Yeah, and this is coyote mating season right now. It's breeding season. So the pups are being born
Wow.
right now. They're incredibly aggressive right now. So if a child were to let's say they did,
Yeah.
right, and wandered close to a den of coyotes, no.
Yeah. But if that happened, Justin, is it
Mm.
Justin? Hi,
Yeah,
Justin.
Hey,
If that happened, don't you think like the dogs would have sniffed out
Oh, yeah.
some blood? Dogs smell
absolutely.
blood.
The dogs would have. Well, okay, well,
Whether
for
it's a
one,
cadaver dog, I mean, they find deceased,
I
but
thought they
Right.
haven't brought in cadavers yet.
no,
they didn't. They didn't. They just
Okay.
brought out the regular sniffing dogs for missing people. But I mean, if
Yeah.
they were attacked by an animal, that dog would
They
have.
would-
Those dogs would have sniffed
So,
blood.
There's another part too that the youngest had on a diaper, right? A pull-up. The
Right.
dog would absolutely hone in on that pull-up
Yes,
within
right.
thought of that.
within a
Bring 'em
couple of kilometers. I have 2 hunting beagles, and I can tell
Yes.
you they would find that miles away.
Yes,
Wow.
I have a
Lots of
beagle,
blood.
and they smell everything. A little insy tinsy tiny bit of blood that I had on my finger, my dog would smell.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even think of that. That's such a great point.
Yeah.
Now they
Yeah.
have found a few items, right? But the mom's boyfriend is stating they don't belong to them.
A blanket, and he said that a pink blanket, and he said that was not theirs, or
Yeah.
maybe it was something that was already out there. I don't know, but he said it wasn't significant.
We've had a ton of wind recently, like really seriously heavy wind in this area. Like I don't know about the rest of you, but we've seen stuff
Yes.
blowing across the East River Road and
Yep.
right ended up on other people's property. So
Oh yeah,
it could have easily have been something blowing from someone else's property that ended up just in the middle of the woods, or could have been a
Exactly.
hurricane years back.
How
Yeah.
close is the next property to them? Because it looked like they were pretty.
Oh,
I
they're a
think
ways out.
probably a distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Sure, anonymous.
I'm trying to get a geographical visual of this. You say you're on an island, so like, do you have to cross?
We're not on an
No,
island.
no
Who
island.
said they were on an
No.
island?
Oh, I
No
thought I
island.
heard they were on an island.
No,
No,
never heard
no.
of that.
Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry.
PEI is an island, which is across from us, and Cape Breton, which is a part of Nova Scotia, is kind of an island, but we're nowhere near Cape Breton. I mean, we're a couple hours away.
Okay.
No
Wow.
wild Jamie, by the way. Yeah, no
No
wild
wild
pigs.
pig. Okay.
So if you're searching and you come across Pictou Island, that's a very small, I think there's like 12 or 15 houses on it just outside of Pictou.
Yeah.
When
That must have
people
been
are
what
from
Anonymous
away
heard.
and they're Googling stuff about Nova Scotia, you have to be very specific in your search.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
always add in Pictou County.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there was-
Yeah. People
was
will
one thing I
confuse
wanted-
Pictou with Pictou County.
yeah,
Exactly.
Pictou's
Big
a
difference.
town in Pictou County.
Yeah.
A lot of people keep asking about this, the recreational area where the call reported a suspicious vehicle man. Now,
Lorda Park was a park for people with disabilities. It's been since closed to the public.
Okay.
After Fiona, it got closed and still hasn't been quite cleaned up yet.
And I know Nova, you mentioned there was several children missing and 2 different reports on that scanner.
Yeah, so the day before, I think it was, Another youth went missing on a lake. So, I mean, this is spring. This is high time for incidents,
That was Garden of
accidents.
Eden Lake.
Garden of Eden Lake,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
they're
that's on
gonna
the
share
other side of the
resources.
county.
Sort of, but they're going to share the same resources with
Exactly.
Warlock Lake because in Pictou County, each district has something specific. So Thorburn has the boat, Marygamish has the drone.
Yeah.
Each part of our district, like for rural areas like that, they shared a lot of the resources.
Exactly.
Like
So
Blue
it's
Mountain
just-
Fire Department did Garden of Eden search and rescue, but
Yeah.
Garden of Eden has its own fire department. They just don't have the search and rescue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have to ask because obviously you're all up here with us. You have cell service, right?
Yes,
Yes.
she would have Wi-Fi there.
Yeah,
We would have
it's
Wi-Fi.
it's very rare around here now. Like I can tell you, my mom lives up on a mountain here, and it's been within the last few years that they were able to get the service that we would have. But
the same for me,
there's
Nova.
still, there's
Mom lives
still
way
the
out,
odd
way out, and she's
area.
got Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there's still the
only the
odd
last 2 years.
area, and I could see that where they are would be one of those odd areas that may not have.
In the back of Lorda Park, there's a cell tower to give them like a higher boost of Wi-Fi. Just
Yeah.
you know about that.
Yeah, I can actually. I'm in IT. I can tell you exactly
Yeah.
how the cell map that is out there.
Yeah.
How far out Garlic Road are they? I looked it up before, but I can't seem to find it again.
In the Facebook group, there's the exact address and aerial photos of their property.
To go find. Oh, is that on the Rant and Rave? That's got
No, it's the Jack
No.
and Lily are missing group.
Yeah.
We tend to double check everything on Rant and Rave.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't go on
You
that.
should tell them about what that is.
Yeah, I don't go on
So
that
it's our
stuff at
local,
all. That's too
Our
nasty.
local just say whatever you want group.
It's terrible.
Oh,
It's
Horrid.
awful.
Horrid.
Yeah.
people just ripping each other apart daily. Yeah.
So while Justin's looking for that, you're looking for that, are you, Dustin?
Yeah.
I'll just explain. So Garden of Eden's on the other side of the county where the youth, he was 17 years old, they found him. So him and his sister rode on the kayaks. That area is surrounded by cottages, family cottages and property. So this time of year is when people are starting to open up their cottages, and the odd nice day, because our weather here can still get pretty cold and still the odd time reach below zero overnight. But the odd time that we have a little bit of nice weather, people are at the cottage starting to live life. And so they went out on the kayaks without their life jackets on. Well, he didn't. And that is not a lake. That's a huge lake. It's like ocean water. That's not a lake that you don't want to have a life jacket on, unfortunately. And so that was the day before Jack and Lily went missing, but they were still looking for him. I don't think they found him till...
They did. Found him the next day.
Was it the next day or 2 days later?
2 days later. Yeah, it was him.
Yeah,
and
it
his
was 2
brother.
days. Him and his brother. Sorry, I
And
thought it was his sister.
they've known that lake their whole life. Like my mother was about 10 minutes away from that lake, and my
Yeah.
brother was part of that ground search and rescue. He's actually the deputy chief of Blue Mountain.
It's so sad.
It was
And they let their
flukest
guard
thing.
down, eh?
Yeah, it was just a fluke accident.
Yep.
Like they knew that lake, they knew kayaking. But like
Yep.
Justin brought up earlier, there's so much debris from Fiona, especially in that lake, that it hasn't
yes.
been cleaned up.
Yes, I never thought of that as well. Yeah, the debris goes into the water as well. Yeah,
So
but you can't
I
let your
found the
guard
cell-
down.
I found the cell coverage for the area. It's very poor where they're at.
Yeah,
Like,
It is.
very,
My
very,
favorite-
very
yeah,
poor.
yeah.
Because they're down near Lansdale Station, right? On Garlic
Right,
Road. So
right.
there's like areas of little white patches where it shows no cell coverage at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And you would Bell's map is being very forgiving. It's not honest. So if it says you have coverage and you're near one of those white zones, you probably actually don't have coverage. So
Right?
I would expect that a very large section of that area is cell-less. So
But she was
So did they bring in like? Sorry, I'd be shocked that they would they not have Starlink in your area to help?
yeah, we have Starlink.
Okay, right.
Yeah, there's
I mean,
Starlink.
not out there.
Yeah, no, they do.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
do.
they should have
Out,
it out
out in
there.
Lansdowne?
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
Starlink is the satellite, right? It connects.
Oh, okay. I don't.
'cause
I don't know what
whenever-
I'm talking about.
I'm
They
also
have the
gonna-
Wi-Fi in
as
Garden
far-
of Eden.
Yeah, like as far as the searchers, and I know we call it our FBI. I believe you call it the RCMP.
Yes.
Yes.
I would imagine they would have to bring something like that in to communicate with all the searchers and keep everything updated.
No,
No.
they would
No,
use
they
they would
have
use
the
TV
radio.
radios.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the 911 call thing was saying that the radios weren't connecting either, so they had to use the radios inside the vehicles,
No,
not like
the
a
radios.
walkie-talkie radio.
Search and rescue
Okay.
have completely different radio systems.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's how search and rescue here. All in this local, actually, most of Atlantic Canada, they all use radio, CB radios, because this has long range, goes through the mountains, goes through the valleys. Don't need cell coverage. We're just too
Yeah.
sparse, right?
Now you all have I'm looking at, I'm very observant, and I'm looking at your backgrounds, right? Especially that you look very well kept. The house looks very well kept. Is the way they lived actually common for that area?
Oh, the
Really?
people that choose to live out in the sticks. Sometimes, like I can. I have a sibling who loves living out in the sticks. I love it out there, actually.
You
I
want,
wish I had moved out there, but yeah.
you want
some
gut
people
reaction?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gut
Gut reaction.
reaction is when I see the photos of the building, I think, oh, gross. Like,
Right.
Oh
when-
yeah.
like
I couldn't live like that.
Neither
So it
can I.
doesn't reflect
Others-
your entire community, is what
No.
I'm asking. That's
No,
not
no.
okay.
Absolutely
It's
not.
like the
No.
odd house.
No.
Like you're driving down a back road, you're going to see some gorgeous houses in the country, and then there's that one dilapidated
Yeah.
one that you're not quite sure
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that's why I'm asking. So I know there was a little girl, Summer Wells, in her area. The whole neighborhood looked that way. And
No,
I'm
this is
looking
not
at
like
you.
Summer Wells' neighborhood.
No.
Right. Okay.
not the
So
same
it
at
is
all.
an odd way out.
And-
So I'm
and-
shocked that I mean, I don't know if we know for sure, but I'm shocked that like Children's Services has not been involved with that family.
Oh.
They
that
haven't
type of
confirmed that. Someone asked
Yeah,
the officer
like,
that
you
question
believe
that's
twice, and
possible.
they just sort of
It's
brushed it
possible.
off.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
possible.
Hey,
not,
Granny.
not saying it's so, but just because of those living conditions, I'm not so sure that children's services would be involved just due to that.
Just to the
Because as
conditions.
you look at those pictures and the kids look very well kept. They're
Yeah.
celebrating Easter. If the teachers saw anything at school that they thought it had, that they were being neglected, like it doesn't look like
The way they live
I
doesn't
hate to say
reflect
they weren't.
parenting.
I hate to say they weren't being neglected because
Right.
I don't know if those guys are guilty of anything else, but for 100% sure they're guilty of bad parenting.
Well, the reason I
Because
would
you
assume
know,
there's some.
To add to what you're saying, Nova. So
Yeah.
Nova's very correct. Like all those things wouldn't be enough for Children's Aid to get involved around here, but locally through Pictou County, we may have 20 Children's Aid workers, and their backlog is
Oh
ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, so
massively.
it's here as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, and we only
Well,
have
the
like
reason I-
17 foster homes. Like we don't have a lot of services, and
No.
our
Right.
Children's Aid system does not have a lot of support. Like they just recently became public instead of a private entity.
So
So
the reason I asked that, it wasn't just the living conditions. It was also the fact that the mother said, like, oh, well, they may be autistic because they have a hard time keeping up at school. And then it's
Yeah.
the fact that the parents are sleeping in until 9:45 a.m. and kind of shutting the kids out
That
to the
was
point they
weird.
never even saw little
I find
California.
I find
I
a
know.
lot of people use the autistic term loosely
Yes,
Yes.
and kind of
Yes.
diagnose. It's self-parenting diagnosing.
it is.
Those kids,
Yeah.
It's obvious they weren't diagnosed as autistic, or she would have said that, right? They've
Right.
been diagnosed since
because
the past
again,
2
around
years
here,
or
it's
whatever.
very hard to finalize an autistic diagnosis.
Yeah,
Like,
it could take you. I know families that have
Years.
been going at it for 5 and 6 years, and
Yeah.
the kid still hasn't been fully diagnosed.
yeah,
My-
some
Yeah.
people have to pay to get a child diagnosed around
That's
here.
right,
We
because you have
autism
free
in Nova
medical
Scotia, but
there.
again, they don't have a lot of
That's
help.
right.
I forgot
Yeah.
that your health system's different than ours and that you have free and it's backed up a lot because of that. Wow, okay.
Well, we
I-
also
I-
have Autism Nova Scotia, which is its own entity, but the wait list to get in is astronomical. Like,
I couldn't fathom, yeah.
Maggie,
Okay.
you're extremely informative.
I know. She knows a lot about local
She
services. and
sure
everything.
does.
It's fantastic.
I'm actually a retired nurse, forced retirement due to illness. And part of what I did, I don't want to go into too deep because I don't like to talk about anything with the work thing in case I say something I shouldn't, but I had to do a lot of in and out of homes in Pictou County, all over Pictou County. And I mean, I've learned not to judge. I mean, just as a nurse, you have to have a holistic touch, and you can't judge because you'll lose that holistic touch in the focus of the client. But I've been in a lot of homes around Pictou County due to my role, and I've been in a lot of homes like that.
Right.
And I can tell you the way that looks and the way that the people are in those homes, you can't judge. You cannot judge. And I've learned that everybody has their own way of living, and it means absolutely nothing. I've been in homes like that, and these are the most beautiful, wonderful people that wouldn't hurt a flea,
Right.
living in those homes. So you can't judge by that. You really
That
can't.
is so true.
Yeah.
very
And
much.
it's really hard to separate the appearance of a place based on how they're actually living. Like we have places around, even here in town, some of the most rundown looking houses, but the happiest little families live there.
Right.
I know,
Yeah.
Jay, you wanted to ask a question.
Hey, Granny. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Nice to see you. I just have a couple questions, right? So I'm kind of joining late, so I apologize if you guys already, talked about this. But I heard you just say that you heard that CPS had been involved
Well,
with
they
the
didn't
family.
confirm.
You were sure.
I
asked
guess-
No.
Not- no, they
CPS
didn't
was
confirm.
Not
involved.
100%
and
no.
answered. They
No.
never
Okay, 'cause the
confirmed.
reason I ask is like because we were talking about the pictures, like where the kids look clean and stuff. And I don't know if you guys remember Harmony Montgomery. Remember she was taken away, and then those were the pictures where she looked,
Yeah.
well taken care of. So I didn't know if that was ever a case with them. You don't know.
No, we were saying that we don't know that,
No.
like that we wouldn't know that. But what we're saying is you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't look at that yard and that home and then go, they weren't well taken care of, because that's not true
Right.
also.
Right.
In the-
Right.
Right.
So when
In
you
the same vein, it goes with the good pictures too, right? You can't take a few good pictures and say, wow,
the other
that
That's
makes,
what I
it, makes them a
exactly.
good parents because they got
That's
the few good pictures.
That's
So
what I
it
was
goes-
saying earlier. It's not always
both
the
ways, right?
picture perfect families, right?
No, and I wanted to comment actually on the autistic piece as well, because Nova and Maggie both brought it up earlier, it could be that these kids were autistic or on some level of autism,
Yeah.
or it could be that they were not, like I think Granny, you said it earlier in the stream, that they weren't socialized well. And I think I mentioned it in chat earlier as well.
Yeah. Some
It-
intellectual difficulties.
Yeah, I've seen kids, like, especially from, I don't want to say all necessarily mixed families, but from some mixed families and others, where the kids, when they go to bed at night, they're not read to, they're not socialized. There's an iPad stuck up on the side of their bed, and they're said, go to bed.
Exactly.
And the kids are thrown in the room and left there for
Yeah.
5 hours until they fall asleep, watching, Baby Lullaby or
Yeah.
Pink Fong.
Not
until they
like
fall asleep,
back in
right?
the day when you read a book to your child.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Well, if they
I
didn't
mean,
have
and
good internet service, then it doesn't seem that would be what they're doing, but it does seem like maybe the children, no neighbors, they're kind of hanging in the woods. I don't know.
I mean, I have to disagree a little bit. I mean, just the fact that the story was that they were in bed sleeping on and off. I mean, those kids are little to be outside alone, no matter where you live,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
not
that's
reason- not
that's
reason.
why I say they definitely, I don't know what they're guilty of. The police will find that out if there's anything going on there, anything nefarious, but definitely guilty of bad parenting. There was
Yeah.
definitely neglect
Some
going
form
on
of
that
neglect.
morning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hit that little
Do you
boy's
guys?
overnight should have been off. They should have been fed. I don't want to go into it all. You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
with it, but,
Do you know how long
know.
they've lived there in that place?
3 years. The mother moved in there 3 years ago. It's Justin's home. Justin's
okay.
lived there a long time, but she's from Colchester County, Wentworth and
Right,
Truro. Like
Right.
not
She's
far from here,
native. Her family's on the reserve.
And
Yeah,
that's
they're
where she
making-
went back to,
in
right?
Colchester
Oh.
County. And
What
she
if the
just
kids
moved there with
are on
Jack
the
and Lily
reserve?
3 years ago.
Well, Jay, did you say that? There are people, like I said, there's people saying theories, and that yes, if she was trying to escape something, that perhaps they got the little ones out first, and then. But I would think she would say something by now and say, "Okay, this was an escape plan. We're out and we're safe."
Yeah, they wouldn't let the searchers continue searching for 5, 6, 7 days. We know people who are actually still searching.
Yeah.
Right.
And he truly seems upset and very concerned. Like
He seemed more emotional than she did to me.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what happened with her, and that was another reason why I wanted to come on. She, Granny, you picked right up on it, where she is so overly focused on the fact that my kids can speak. They're not
At the very
nonverbal.
start of this on Facebook, there was an
That's exactly,
yeah, that
and
came out
that's
as
why
nonverbal.
that's why that upset her, and she was saying,
Yeah.
"No, my children are not nonverbal." And apparently, this is coming from a grandmother and an aunt. I'm assuming on the real father's side.
Yes,
Okay.
sister
And
and brother.
she's saying no, that's not true, and that's why she was so focused on making people understand that in that interview, that that's not true. They do speak, and they will speak to you, because in her mind she's thinking, what if they were kidnapped? You know,
That makes
they
sense.
will speak to you if you go up to them.
Yeah, the chat didn't catch what you said because you both spoke. What they said is in the beginning, a rumor came out from likely the biological family, father's side of the family, that
On
the kids
Facebook.
were nonverbal on Facebook.
Yeah.
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 Um,
So
and-
that's, that's
And I'll tell you how bad it went. When I made my first video, I think I questioned it in it, because to me as a nurse, I was thinking, well, children are nonverbal, like that's kind of odd.
right.
So when I did my first video, and it was just missing kids, because they wanted the Amber Alert out and the police didn't and still haven't. And I thought, well, if they're not going to do an Amber Alert, I'm putting my thing on YouTube to start this to spread, because if they were kidnapped, people have to be looking out for them.
Yeah.
And I even on my video it was said on Facebook that these kids are not verbal. And I said, now I don't know if that's true, because I questioned it, and then it turned out it wasn't true. So
Right.
so that was upsetting to her.
That's actually good that she mentioned that, because let's just say they were kidnapped. That
Yeah.
kidnapper then would have a hold saying that these kids aren't going to be able to say anything. So to correct that, I think is very
Yeah.
important.
And that's
Sure,
why
the
she
kidnapper
was.
would have figured out that they're verbal by now.
Yes.
Yeah, the
You know what I
kidnapper
didn't like
would, but if somebody saw them and they had that in their head, these kids are not nonverbal. Like, do you know what I mean? It
Right.
just,
They start
like,
speaking, then they'll say, well, that can't be them because the ones we're looking
exactly.
for are
It could
nonverbal.
cause interference. So she wanted that out there, that no, they talk.
I think the mom
I
sounded
just
very
want to say
scripted.
thank you so much for having me. I have to go to work, but I do appreciate
thank you,
having me on
Maggie.
the chat.
Bye,
Have a great
Maggie.
day and pray
Thank you
for
for
those
coming.
babies.
That was
Yeah,
very
Absolutely.
informative.
Yes,
I appreciate
Maggie.
you, Maggie. Now, have you heard any rumors of like perhaps domestic violence or police being well known with this couple?
No.
Can you guys look up court records in your area? Like, is it like it is here or no?
Like
No,
public
it's
access?
Canada is not like the U.S. And
Yeah, I know
and
that from other creators.
anything to do with the RCMP, they are
It's like the FBI here, like
Oh,
shut
yeah.
down.
extremely tight-lipped and close to the vest. Like if you listen to the RCMP officer that was he was a little choked up too in that yesterday on the news. I think you guys played it, and he was kind of dancing around the fact that they're probably not alive if they're out in the woods, because he
Right.
was having a hard time saying it. But he
Yeah.
was also watching his words very closely and what he was putting out there. Like, yeah, and they do very sneaky investigations that in your country, when they had did an investigation together, I can't remember the what it was, but anyways, they wouldn't even use what the RCMP gave them, because Justin, I don't know if you can remember what it's called, but it's their type of investigation that they do, and your country considers it too much like too much luring, and that
like
like
coercing.
enticement.
Yeah, and coercing someone into.
that's it. Yeah, they consider it too much that they won't even use it, and there's a name for it. But
Wow.
this is how they caught somebody. Justin, do you remember down in the valley, Clarissa?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and her mother did unalive her, and they used this investigation on her, and that's how they got her.
Oh wow.
So that's good to know that they're willing to go an extra foot
They're more
than we
loose.
are.
They're
Right.
more
Oh, yeah,
loose.
yeah.
I mean, we get people that are going for retrials because of like the read technique and the things that the
It's ridiculous.
authorities use here. Let alone if it's something looser than that. Wow.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
there's rumors that he was working 3 jobs. Have you heard if that's
Well,
correct or not?
I don't know about 3. I do know that he was working at the in forestry, and his milling work got slow. It got slow
Yeah.
for everybody just at the
Yeah,
time of year.
that's typical,
And a little bit of the tariffs and political
Right.
environment that we're in. Things have slowed down a bit here in the primary sectors. So
Okay. So it is impacting you all as well.
Yeah,
Mm,
and
yeah,
that wouldn't be
right.
uncommon. Like there are
Mhm.
people that, and especially, his type personality, I can tell that they're just working some job to job, and
Just trying
sometimes
to make it by.
like 1 or 2 of those jobs might be under the table, or
Right.
to try to survive, and feed your kids type thing.
Has anybody that knows these people come forward that you guys have seen maybe on your local
No.
news or
Nope.
anything? No.
Now, you're
and
saying,
that's not uncommon around here for people to be very tight-lipped.
Yeah.
no,
Barely.
it's Pictou as an outsider coming into Pictou County. This has been a very difficult place to move.
Wow.
Oh
because
yeah,
it is a very tight clique, lots of niche cliques. People don't let others in.
They keep to
Small
themselves.
town
Yeah, very
politics
much
and all
so.
that,
We were
yeah.
told. I was told it goes back to Scottish and Celtic roots,
yes, it does.
having been like tribes and things
Yeah.
like that, and how they they were very not welcoming of others. This tribe
Yep.
stayed with this one, these stayed with these ones, those stayed with
Yep.
those ones.
There's,
Wow.
there's,
That's why
still,
the
there's
grandmother-
still like that with town to town here.
So that
Yeah,
would be why the grandmother put this, right? Or alleged grandmother. The province has been notified. Lily and Jack are part of, and I'm sorry, I
Yep.
can't pronounce that.
Yeah.
So they are very like,
Penny,
if you're,
Katik,
thank you. So if you're one of
Mi'kmaq.
us, you're one of us, and if you're not, you're not.
and that's Mi'kmaq children.
I can actually represent the Mi'kmaq aspect because I am a status Aboriginal in this area. So I'm a
Okay.
status Mi'kmaq from Newfoundland originally, but I do look there. Sorry, there's a little bug flying around.
We don't see it. I thought you were waving to us.
No, I'm just waving at everybody. Like, go away, bug. Yeah, no, thanks. So yeah, there is a predominantly more violence and abduction that take place against Aboriginal people in Canada.
Yes.
So much
Sad.
more.
Yeah.
Like a factor of 4 to 1, something
Yeah,
like that.
especially out BC. It's terrible.
BC, Saskatchewan, Alberta,
Yeah.
like the prairie provinces, it is horrible.
Sad.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Our
So
way,
would they-
it's a little less.
Would they be open? Like, so say the children, I was touched on a little bit, but if the children were on a reservation, would that reservation come forth? Or would they kind of keep it a little hush?
It depends on reservation to reservation, right? Like I can
Right.
comment on where I was from and the places that I've lived in my history. Like Pictou Landing First Nation, which is one of the closest Aboriginal First Nations to us here. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty forthcoming. They're pretty. They mix well with
That's
the community.
great reserve. Yeah.
And are RCMP allowed to go on to that
Yes.
reservation?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. They typically will choose a certain like I know down here that's a Pictou County talk. There is a native RCMP officer, and not to say
Yeah.
that the others wouldn't go on there, but typically they would reach out to him just due to the background and his knowledge and being able to communicate better. And I can't well, I guess it doesn't matter what his name is, but you know who I'm talking about, Justin.
Yeah.
And they actually have a little tiny trailer on the reserve where he will
It's-
go.
The reason we do that is we appoint a Mi'kmaq person who's typically in the RCMP because outsiders historically wouldn't be trusted. White people coming on the reserve have typically over the years been there to take the children, take the
Right.
people, put them in jail, lock them up, assault them, hurt them,
Yeah.
some kind of negative reinforcement of their presence, right?
Yeah.
So when
And the
a Mi'kmaq-
history is bad here for that too, Justin. Like you were
Very.
saying, you came from
Mhm.
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland, yeah.
And
That's why I
for
was
me-
wondering if they'd be honest and say, hey, the children are here.
things
Again-
are things are somewhat better now, but
Better.
I can tell you from growing up here back in the day, again, like Justin said, those divided lines, it was
Mhm.
horrific. It was horrific with the not only the natives here, but our black people as well. Like it was terrible. It was terrible.
Like in my day, because I came from the community where I came from, when I would go to school, they'd say, "Oh, there's the Indian coming in. There's his group.
Yeah.
They're going to burn down your house. They're going to destroy your vehicle and car. Don't turn your back to them." Right?
And that was in Newfoundland.
that was in Newfoundland, yeah, Western
Yeah,
Newfoundland. That would be said
that's
when I go to school.
terrible.
I mean, I'm
Oh,
40. I'm
sorry.
41. This would have been 25 years ago, 30 years ago or so, when I would be in like junior high and going into high school. Would be teachers would say this
Wow.
coming in, right? It's only been in the last since say 2001, 2002 that we've really kind of made an edge for ourselves and kind of stood out. Also helps for me. I'm what we call white presenting.
I was
white
thinking
facing.
it. I didn't want to say it, but I'm
Yeah,
shocked
no,
you don't
you're-
really
you're-
have to.
You're
Yeah.
perfectly fine to go ahead and say it. I get it all the time, actually. Where's the thing?
Now I
Um,
am actually part native as well, but I don't
You are as
have
well.
See if
I
it'll
don't
actually
have
show up.
status.
Boop, boop, boop. Come on,
Oh
come on.
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Wow.
here's my status card, right? So, that's basically our proof here in Canada that you are an Aboriginal. And you've got to have the proof and the ancestry and the bloodlines to prove that you
And
are.
good for you for having
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. Thank you. It took a lot of effort for my family to
Yeah,
go through and
well-
get it because my grandfather was Aboriginal, my mother is Aboriginal, my father is Aboriginal. Mother doesn't look it. Mother looks blonde, got kind of blondish hair, but that's because of her mother, not her father. And
But due to the way that the Aboriginal was tried to, be weeded out here in Canada, though, like I said, I was always told that I had Aboriginal, and of course you don't know for sure, but I did have my DNA done, and sure enough, it come up. So, and then you look back in the history of how that was weeded out and what happened to my ancestors and what happened to your ancestors and your grandparents. And so anybody that does have that bloodline should go for that card
for it.
because it's just
We get-
disgusting how the
get,
history of what was done.
we get very little from it. I just noticed in some of the comments here, are you getting money?
And it doesn't matter what you get from it. It's the fact of showing that, yes, I have that history there. My ancestors went through this. My grandparents went through this, and I'm not weeded out. Like I'm still proud of this.
I grew up in an Aboriginal way. I hunted, I fished, I did lots of things I didn't know were Aboriginal until I came over here to Nova Scotia. And then they're like, "You do that?" I do, right? And it's Aboriginal. But kind of going back to the kids for when focus on what's real important here is if they grew up living an Aboriginal lifestyle, it wouldn't be impossible to say that the Aboriginal community would want to protect them, especially if that particular community or that particular chief has had bad interactions with the RCMP, with law enforcement, or other entities like that. It would be possible that they would want to protect them and keep them safe.
True.
But at the same time, don't think they would have it in their soul to let that many searchers continue to pour their heart and effort out trying to find somebody that's just not there.
That's what I was going to
Or
ask because at
somebody's.
this point,
Exactly.
it's now national news, right? So would they
Yeah.
keep this kind of up to that extent?
Right,
No,
and that's
I
what
don't
I
think so.
said. And I talked to my husband about it because I saw that people were saying this. And I mean, we don't know that this is so. These are just thoughts that people come to these thoughts, I think, when they want the kids to still be alive. So you're thinking, how could they still be alive? And this would be a scenario. And like my husband said, you have to remember when a woman leaves, or even a man, an abusive relationship, the highest time for the man to commit unaliving
Mhm.
is during that time. That's typically when it happens that those
Right.
scenarios increase. So he said if that is the case, which we have no idea, but that she would be petrified to let him know. So I said, well,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. And that could stop a person from saying, yeah, the kids are okay. They're with me. They're here, because then he could come after them, right?
Right, but if your police force is as kind of stern as they are, I think they would have gotten that out of her if that were the case.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Good.
You
I
know,
would think so.
Yeah,
I don't
I think
think it would be-
these are just things people are hanging on to because people so bad don't want to think that those little kids are in the woods and they died that way, because that's a
Right.
cruel death, right? So
Yeah.
people are just coming up with other scenarios. So, well, what if this happened and they're still alive? It's that little piece of hope,
well, and that little piece of hope. What about trafficking? Is that high in the area? Some have
Like
seen it.
not specifically where they're at in the city,
Okay.
like in
The city.
Halifax and in some of
Yeah.
the bigger locations. Yes, out here in the
Yeah.
rural province, or the rural areas of the province, not as much. Now, is
No.
it impossible? No, can't
Right.
100% rule it out. But Carlick Road, way down where they're at, the amount of traffic they get down there is so sparse. Like,
Yeah.
super sparse.
Yeah. Justin, do you remember? I think it was last year, and I should have looked it up. I just never thought to look it up yet. It hit me last night. There was a child, and it was out around, I thought, the Westville area, like kind of just a little, not too far on the outskirts of Westville. You know what Westville's like,
No,
how
of
you don't
course,
have to go
yeah.
too far to kind of
Yeah.
be like it's in the country area. It was in that area. It was, I thought, a little girl, and somebody tried to pick her up.
Oh my goodness.
And the description of everything, the vehicle was in the news, and
Yeah, there's been instances of that here locally. Like,
yeah,
not that
and
long
I
ago,
thought
heard
that was
someone
just
picked up
last
the same idea.
year.
But 2 kids, that's the thing, that if someone's going to grab a kid,
2 tiny children if they're outside, but
Yeah,
unattended.
I
Well,
don't
it
think
depends on what a person's doing that for, because I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it, but there's really bad stuff going on.
Absolutely.
And sometimes having 2 kids, female and male, would be what a perp may want.
if it's planned, you mean, like that kind of thing?
Well, no,
or-
I'm just saying if somebody's into, I mean, like they just caught a global ring. Well, you guys did in your country. You thank God for your country.
Well, we have rings all over.
Like, thank God for the U.S. But no, it was the U.S. Law enforcement that caught them. But it was global. It was here in Canada. It was in the U.S. It was in Russia. There was the whole Florida people in on it. That was small children. And it was like they were doing videos online and selling.
Yeah, I
them.
mean, they
So-
bust those every day here.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, if there was, because things can happen just in that time frame. Remember Amber Kerwin? How that just all came. Justin, do you remember Amber
Yeah.
Kerwin? How that just all came together so perfectly in that one little time frame that he got her. The police were even drove right by her and turned down this way. She went up this way, and in that very small time frame, gone.
Oh,
Just
then
the
there's Dylan.
secludedness of it is just, with 2
Dylan,
kids, the
Dylan, yeah.
secludedness.
Dylan
The
and Stroh.
secludedness, yes.
Yeah.
Dylan Ehler?
Ealer.
Yeah, there was another kid there, 2020.
Rubber
mother
boots
turned-
again.
Mother
I
turned her
think,
back,
yeah.
and
I see
apparently
him coming up with this
gone.
case. A lot of people are
Yeah.
comparing the 2.
I think it was the
Yeah.
grandmother, but again, you have to remember the time of year. That is a high time of year, and just
I
from
know.
my training, where children and adults with Alzheimer's, dementia, any type of dementia, they want to roam. It's wandering time, and that's because you're getting those nice spring days where you can go outside now. You don't have to get your jacket on. Kids like playing in the water with their rubber boots. So, and that just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
They put their little rubber boots on and away they go.
It's sad. It's
And
so
that's
sad.
that's what the little fella did too. That Justin's saying, and I thought he was with his was it his grandmother?
Grandmother.
And she
You know,
turned
this
back.
case reminds me so much of the Haley Cummings case.
I don't know that.
Do you guys
case.
remember that one? It was
I
back
know
in,
most of them all.
I think it was in the early 2000s. It was here in Florida.
Can I
And-
puff on my e-cig on here?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
You absolutely
I don't
can.
want to. It's your channel. I don't want to do anything disrespectful.
No, I appreciate you asking. Absolutely. Lily was not nonverbal. Both children were very verbal, according to the mother, which was explained by, I felt she was, the way I took it was like, wow, they must have really been driving her crazy because she kept amping how verbal they were. I didn't realize there were initial rumors that they were nonverbal. So
Right.
she was likely combating that. Nonetheless, I
Yeah.
find the mother's behavior overall very suspicious.
Well, I know I would be very, like everybody's different. Now, if that was me, I'd be a wreck. My husband would have to hold
Yep.
me up. And
Yeah.
like
Yep.
somebody was saying, why isn't she saying, everybody come, please help search? Because the RCMP wouldn't allow that.
That's
she
right.
wanted an Amber Alert out. They wouldn't allow that. So, like, you're saying she's repeating what she was told.
Yes.
You're right on with stuff, girl.
Thank you.
I was listening to you, and I was like, she's right on. And you weren't even saying, because you were saying, I don't know why, but she seems like she's like, you wouldn't even, come up with your own conclusion. But you were right. But she is repeating what she's told.
But why
Or
did
no,
the mom say that she knew they were outside playing if they were in
I
bed
know.
sleeping? That's the only thing that doesn't add up to me with the
I-
mom. Is like,
It is a bit suspicious. It could be hopeful though. On the same side, is
Yeah.
I was
But
as
just-
drifting in and out of sleep,
but
thinking
she
I
said
heard
it
them
as a
here.
fact, right? Like, we know they were playing outside. Like, how
Yeah.
would you know that?
I think, like Justin saying, it's presumptions.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like,
It's presumptuous of hope, right? And again, you kind of have to live in the area, live in around this particular area to understand some of the speak. Because I watched a video where they broke down the speech pattern and and the I's and the thises and the that's, and they're saying this and they're saying that. I'm like, you're not actually breaking down the way they speak here, but rather the way you speak.
But then she followed it up with, they don't normally do that. So how would you know if they don't normally do that? See, that doesn't add up to me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it. I'm a parent as well. I have a 9-year-old, so I look at it the same way. And I would think, would I again, in a separate situation, somebody asked me about my child doing something. Would I answer in that way? I might say, you know, my child don't go out the back door unless I let her.
What I found odd though is that their stories don't match, because she said that she heard them in the other room and looked at him and said, "Hey, do you hear the kids anymore?" He said no, got up and looked. But then he says the opposite, that he actually heard them in the kitchen and then didn't hear anything, so he went out. He also says they would always close the door behind themselves, to the point where he had to remind them all the time, close the door, close the door.
Most
which is
kids
another
don't.
right, but it's another weird statement, because if they didn't go outside alone, then why are you telling the kids to close the door if they didn't go outside alone? The adult would know, you know, you as the adult would close it.
And I hear you, and I heard the same thing. And your gut, we all have the same gut reaction, or those red flags just opinion, you know? And I'm thinking, are they hiding that they did something nefarious, or are they they know that the parenting skills in that situation weren't the greatest, and it's guilt, and they're, you know, subconsciously coming up with, you know, like,
well, intentionally lying.
Maybe. Like, they're trying to combat their bad. They're trying to combat their bad parenting skills, right? In the same breath, as they're saying one thing and then saying something else. Like, but we're not a bad parent, because we'd never let them go outside, right?
That's what I felt too.
Yeah.
Trying to like cover their ass type thing.
The parents cover their parenting skills.
See, that's what I thought about Donna Candace Wells, is that a lot of their statements were like CYA statements, you know?
Exactly. Like, I don't want to jump to the theory that, oh, it's because they did something to those kids. It could be,
that
but
would just be neglect. I mean, they're in bed at 9:45 a.m.
Exactly. Guilty of neglect, for sure.
Well, when you start with neglect, I mean, you kind of circumstantially put pieces together, right?
Well, you have Lily coming in the room. It's almost 10 a.m. Lily's coming in, and they said that they didn't want them to be loud because they didn't want them to wake the baby. The baby's 18 months old. It's not a 6-month-old baby.
Yeah, Dad, get the fuck up out of bed. Sorry.
Exactly.
Oh, wait. There's another child?
Definitely guilty there.
Yeah,
and then to say that
hold on, this changes everything. There's another child.
Did you just join the panel without?
Yeah, no, I joined your stream.
When the baby was sleeping with them, Jay.
So this was their claim.
I didn't hear anything about a baby.
Yeah, they were sleeping with them.
And their claim was that it was 9:45 a.m. They were in the room with the baby. The mom said she was in and out of going back to sleep.
Yeah.
And the kids were just fending for themselves. I heard all
of that. I watched Plunder last night. I just didn't catch there was a baby.
Yeah, they have an 18-month-old.
Is it his? It's his biological baby?
Yes, them two together had that baby. She's now taken that baby and left. And he said, blocked her, won't speak to her, won't speak to him. I apologize. So she now left the area. And you all were saying that, so we call them counties here, but they're pretty far apart. So she's not even
but legally, can she take that child away? Like, it's his child. How can she legally do that?
That's a civil. The cops aren't going to get involved in that. He'd have to take her to court for custody and stuff. Of course she can leave.
No, that's true.
I think it was said that there was a fight going on. It would be best for her and the baby to relocate.
Yeah. So I don't know what your name is, but that's what I was going to say when Granny was saying there. That I'm kind of wondering if that might be what part of the fight was about. The fact that she was, because I just try to put myself in that situation. So if I was drifting in and out of sleep and I thought my husband was awake, he's the one awake, because she could have been up with because apparently the baby had a cough too. So she could have been up through the night with the baby with the cough or whatever, and then fell back asleep, her and the baby. She's drifting in and out, but he's awake, obviously, because he's saying Lily was coming in and out of the room. So he's aware of that. So she might have thought, okay, well, he's awake. I'm drifting back off. He's going to keep an eye on the kids. Everything's good. And then you wake up, and because she said, her way of saying it was, I told him where are the kids, but she asked him, well, or like, do you hear the kids or whatever it was she said? And I mean, I know I'd feel a little peeved if that was my boyfriend, or, I mean, they are considered husband and wife legally, because here in Canada, after a year, you're legally considered husband and wife if you live together. And I mean, I'd be a little upset. And then if he's going, well, no, I don't hear them, but Lily was in and out of the room. Well, what do you mean you don't hear them? Like, weren't you watching them when I fell back to sleep? Like, so I'm wondering if that was part of the fight that took place.
I don't know, because to me it sounded like it was something they did normally.
Possible. I'm just trying to put myself in that position and think, like, like,
to me, if I put myself in the guy's position, what it sounds like is that you've got husband or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever they are, fiancés, couple, doesn't matter, sleeping together, and they had a hard night with the baby. He's supposed to get up while she stays with the baby and tends to the kids, and he didn't wake up. Like, hence why she's pissed off at him. She's blocked him on all the media apps and social media and whatnot, and is blaming this on him because he didn't get up with the kids, and now the kids ran off.
Because the whole fight was about, and these are his words again, I'm very evidence-based. He said in his interview on the news, out of his mouth, the family fight was about her family blaming him, saying this is your fault.
Yep.
And that's where my mind went to, that, oh, she's like, she was in and out of sleep. He's saying Lily was in and out of the room. So I guess she thought he was going to attend to them or something, possibly. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe he wasn't even sleeping. He could have been in his room on his phone playing playing games or whatever while the kids were out playing outside, right?
No internet service, though.
But
Well,
what I
you can
find
still
to
play
be
your offline games, but you know what I mean? Doing
Yeah.
something, maybe not asleep, or
Right.
it doesn't really matter. But either way, being unattentive to the kids, hence why the girlfriend,
is
the
upset.
partner is all pissed off and left and blocked
Yeah.
him on all social media because she's blaming him for all of what's happened.
I just try to put, and then if my husband, or well, he's my husband now, and my husband now did come into my life when my kids were 7 and 8. My first husband and I divorced, and then he came into my life, and he did end up moving in with us when the kids were 7 and 8. And I put myself in that situation and think back, and I'm thinking, and then if he added on to that, yeah, and Lily had her backpack on too. Like, I'm just thinking, like, man, I'd be starting like, what do you mean? Like,
Well,
did you not clue in that she got her backpack on, and like, and you're not watching them? Like,
Yep.
Well, the problem for me is that he said they were playing with the baby. She says they were sleeping. She says she's the one that noticed the kids stopped making noise and said to him, "Do you hear the children?" So she wasn't too upset that he remained in the bedroom because she never kicked his ass out and said, "Go tend to the kids."
yeah,
I think
Story.
she was legitimately sleeping or in and out of sleep. She wakes up. He's still sitting next to her doing whatever, or
Right.
maybe half asleep. She goes, "Fuck, where are the kids? Oh,
Right.
what? Oh,
yeah.
no
Because in
kids.
her
What do
mind,
you
she
mean?"
thought he was tending to them.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a
So she felt like
possibility,
she could
yeah.
get more sleep.
Yeah. And
Neither of them were up making breakfast, that's for sure.
exactly.
No.
So,
Still comes
the speculation
back to
is
bad
that the
parenting.
children all had a cold, a cough.
Yeah, the last day they were in school was Tuesday. Now, this he said
Mm.
yesterday too, as well. This is out of his mouth. The last day they were in school was Tuesday, and Wednesday there was no school because of
That's right.
teacher day or whatever it's called.
PD day, yeah.
And yeah, so they weren't in school. The last time anybody else saw them besides the parents would have been on Tuesday in school, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday they didn't attend.
Wow. I wonder
Yeah.
if anybody has seen the children in between that time period.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, not
So,
that they're
because
telling
there's
us.
the mom and the brother
Right.
living at the house too.
Yeah, I was
so
just thinking that. They didn't
did
see
they
the
see
children?
them?
Right.
Well,
When did they see them last?
I guess the police will be
Yeah.
discussing that with them.
I guess, yeah, it sounds like the police are now headed that direction, unfortunately.
And
Yeah.
when this first came out, the very first article I read said that they were seen on the road around 10 o'clock. And
That's what Clue just read earlier, right, Clue?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, that is one thing I've noticed, and Justin, you probably noticed how
Mm.
everything keeps changing. And sometimes I know the media, they want to get the story out there quick, and they're putting stuff out, and then the next day it'll change, then it's something else. And you're like, well, I thought you just said somebody saw them on the road yesterday. You're in your article, you said somebody saw them on the road at 10 o'clock. So I don't know if that's
Oh,
so.
the rumors are
And who
rampant.
was
I mean,
that someone?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, do you know if the children took a bus to school?
Don't know.
Salt
Out there
Springs?
you would in that area, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming so, because I thought that as well.
They-
Like, did she try to walk to the bus stop with her backpack on, thinking,
Right.
we'll go to school, mom and dad aren't going to get, mom and
Right.
yeah.
They're busy with
That's
the
what
baby.
I was thinking.
Because it
We'll go
sounded
to
the way
school.
she said it, like in the way he stated, we're still in the room with the baby and we wanted them to be quiet so they don't wake the baby. It sounds like these two had their baby together and the other children were kind of like, not cast aside, but
No,
left
but I
to
hear
kind of
you.
fend for, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
I agree. And it broke my heart when I read that,
Yeah.
because in the article it said we got upset at them and told them to quiet down so the baby could sleep. And I was thinking,
Right.
what a damn sin. Like,
Right.
oh my God, it breaks
Meanwhile,
your
Jake
heart.
is
I'm going to
pulling a
start
pull
crying
up.
again.
you know, and you have this 4-year-old who's still in a pull-up, so they're in no hurry to. It just seemed, I mean, at the very minimum, neglect is what I'm. So I'm curious if she left to get away from fighting with him, or if she left to get away from criticism of the police. I mean, CPS now, or child services, I'm not sure what you call them, they'll now be involved, and you know, in their yeah.
Well, they would have to be involved. I think they'd be called right away with this. Yeah, they would be. Yeah.
Do you know their ages?
No.
The parents?
Yeah.
Oh, he's 30.
I thought that they seemed to me, I was thinking 30s. Okay.
Don't know her age, but he's 30.
And altogether, they have the 5 children amongst them. And I know that our earlier panel guest, I believe it was Maggie.
Maggie, yeah.
Yes, I have issues with names. I apologize. She said that he's not really in his other children. He's not really in the picture with them. So it's kind of one-off family photo shoot. Home from school, right? That's what they're saying. That Lily had a cough, and I guess all the children would have if Jack stayed home too. Or is it convenient line? I don't know. I mean, being low income, being young parents, none of that is an excuse for lousy parenting. I was a teen mom. I'm not the highest of income, but my children never, you know, lived in squalor. They weren't, while I was still in bed. I mean, there's just dozens of excuses, but ultimately there was 4 adults on that property and 2 young children disappeared from it. So at minimum, there was neglect going on. And I bet you, as I stated before, those children likely played outside often.
I agree. I do believe that.
And they're afraid to admit that now because the guilt, parenting guilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps they did wander off. It doesn't have to mean something, you know, malicious happened. Maybe they wandered off. Maybe they were kidnapped, God forbid. But they know deep down that it's because of their lazy parenting.
Their parenting. Exactly. So when you're hearing that, where it feels like they're being defensive in that way, that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily because they did something bad to those kids. It's the bad parenting part of it that they're trying to cover up, you know.
Right.